אונסקו קיבל עוד החלטה היום בוועדת המורשת, וההחלטה הזאת גרמה לאכזבה בקרב הפלסטינים ובקרב כמה מדינות ערביות. היא הייתה אמורה להתקבל פה אחד בקונסנזוס, כיוון שמנכ"לית אונסקו אמרה שאם זה לא יעבור פה אחד, אז ההחלטה לא תיושם. טוב, אני רוצה להודות למנהיגים של טנזניה, של קרואטיה, שדרשו הצבעה, דיברתי איתם, אני מאוד מעריך את הנכונות שלהם להתייצב שם, וכיוון שזה הגיע להצבעה, אז זה לא יושם, משום שזה לא יתקבל פה אחד. 11 מתוך 21 המדינות ששייכות לה כרגע לוועדת המורשת, כפי שהם קוראים לזה, לא תמכו בהצבעה. זו תוצאה מבחינת ישראל משמעותית, משום שלפני שנה, בהרכב הרבה יותר נוח לנו, קיבלנו תוצאה פחות טובה. יצאו מדינות כמו גרמניה, כמו יפן, כמו הודו, כמו קולומביה, ונכנסו כל מיני מדינות אחרות מוכרות לכם, כן? לבנון, עוד מדינות ערביות, ואנגולה, וזימבבואה, וכהנה וכהנה. ובהרכב פחות טוב, אנחנו יצאנו עם תוצאה יותר טובה, וזה מקדם את מה שאני אומר לכם, ואמרתי באום שקורה, שהיחסים הבילטרליים של ישראל משתקפים בסופו של דבר גם בפורומים הבינלאומיים, אבל שזה ייקח זמן. זה ייקח לנו, אמרתי 10 שנים, דעתי פחות מ10 שנים, כדי לשבור את הרוב האוטומטי במוסדות האום, במיוחד שהגוש של מדינות אפריקה, 54 מדינות, רוב המכריע יעבור מתמיכה או מהתנגדות לישראל לתמיכה בישראל, התהליך הזה מתקיים, והוא בא לידי ביטוי גם בהצבעה הזאת היום. השינוי שמתחולל בא כאן לידי ביטוי, ואני רוצה להודות לאנשי משרד החוץ ואנשי המועצה לביטחון לאומי והשגרירות שלנו באונסקו, שסייעו לי בשיחות עם המנהיגים השונים. אנחנו מנסים לשנות כמובן את המציאות, אבל בכל זאת, עצם העובדה שגם אם ההחלטה הזאת לא תיושם, היא הועלתה באונסקו, הדבר האבסורדי הזה, האבסורדי, שאנחנו, שימו לב, ישראל, במזרח התיכון, אנחנו אלה שמפירים את הזכויות של הדתות, בני הדתות השונות, אנחנו אלה שלא שומרים על המקומות הקדושים. אפשר לחשוב על משהו יותר אבסורדי מזה, אנחנו לא שומרים, אנחנו היחידים ששומרים, בדבקות, בקנאות, בקפדנות. מי שומר אם לא אנחנו? וכולנו מכירים מה קורה פה במזרח התיכון עם האסלאם הקיצוני שמפוצץ מסגדים, מפוצץ כנסיות, מפוצץ אתרים היסטוריים, שוחט יזידים, שוחט מוסלמים שלא מסכימים איתם, שוחט נוצרים, שוחט מכל הבא ליד. אז מי שראוי לגינוי זה ודאי לא ישראל. ישראל ראויה לכל דברי השבח בעניין הזה כמגדלור באמת של קדמה וטולרנטיות וזכויות. מי שראוי לגינוי זה אונסקו. אבל לא רק עליבות ההווה, גם עליבות העבר. וההחלטה השערורייתית הזאת, הסקנדל הזה, שהם קיבלו לפני כשבועיים, שלעם היהודי אין קשר להר הבית, בכלל ירושלים זה דבר מקרי. הדבר הזה זה לא רק נסתר על ידי התנ"ך ועל ידי התיעוד ההיסטורי וכו'. אתם ידעתם שטיטוס הוא תועמלן ציוני? מה הם סוחבים שם לפני 2000 שנה? אחרי שהם השמידו את בית המקדש. זה לא היה מסגד, כן? האסלאם עוד לא נוסד. זה לקח עוד כמה מאות שנים טובות. הם נושאים שם את מנורת 7 הקנים, וזה ידוע לכם. זה ידוע גם למדינות אונסקו. אבל העיוות הזה, שעושה פלסטר מכל הרעיון של אמת היסטורית, של ההיסטוריה בכלל, העיוות הזה נסתר היום על ידי תעודה נוספת שהתפרסמה היום, על ידי רשות העתיקות שלנו. הנה התעודה, אתם לא קוראים עברית עתיקה, נכון? התעודה הזאת היא תעודת משלוח מלפני 2700 שנה, מנערן, נערן זה בגבול המנשה, מוכר לכם, לירושלים, וכתוב כאן שזה, תעודת המשלוח אומרת, זה בעברית עתיקה, וזאת המילה הקריטית, אבל אתם יכולים לראות את זה בעברית, וכתוב כאן מאמת המלך, אמת המלך מנערתה, שולחת, נבלים, כלומר נבל, ויין לירושלים, כתוב שם ירושלמה. אמת המלך מנערתה, יין ונבל ירושלמה. תעודת משלוח. הנה איגרת מהעבר לאונסקו, שמסביר את הקשר שלנו בעברית לירושלים, ומרכזיותה של ירושלים, אחת מהפקידות של המלך, ודאי מלך יהודה. זה לפני 2,700 שנה, ירושלים, לא בערבית, לא בארמית, לא ביוונית, ולא בלטינית, בעברית. ובכן, האבסורד הזה של תיאטרון האבסורד נמשך, גם אם בעוצמה מופחתת, הוא נמשך, ואני החלטתי לפיכך להזמין לארץ להתייעצויות את השגריר שלנו באונסקו, ואנחנו נחליט מה לעשות, מה יהיו הצעדים שלנו, צעדי ההמשך שלנו מול הארגון הזה. אבל מה שצריך להבין בסופו של דבר, וזה ייקח זמן, האבסורד הזה, שפוגע לא רק באמת ההיסטורית ובאמת של ההווה, אלא גם פוגע לדעתי באום עצמו, האבסורד הזה יגיע לקיצו ככל שהעוצמה של ישראל תגדל ותתרחב. So I want to talk about now the present and the future. And the present is changing, the future is changing. Because of entrepreneurship or human ingenuity unleashed. So why is this school close to my heart? Well, there are many reasons. Two of them are sitting here today. But there's another reason. I went to a business school called the Sloan School of Management. It's 100 years ago. And we were 5 students who asked for a course that they didn't have then. It was called entrepreneurship. MIT was a very compliant place. For example, you didn't have to take classes. All you needed to do was take the exam, and that's it. If you passed, you passed. If you didn't, you didn't. But in this case, they said, okay, we'll give you a course without exams, gratis, and found an entrepreneur to give the course. There were 5 students in the class, 3 Israelis. And in that course, I learned a lot. By the way, one of the first people who was there was Ray Kurzweil, who invented the so-called reading machine. For the blind it was, but it developed into a whole industry. And he must have been 25 at the time, something like that, working out of a garage. And we could all understand the potential. I came out of that course, and then afterwards, from my very brief time at the Boston Consulting Group, understanding the power of entrepreneurship. I understood that the main thing that drives economies forward are business firms, not governments. This is a shock in Israel. Not even universities. Not even science, and not even technology. We tend to think that. We understand governments are limited, and governments have bureaucracy, and governments have overregulation. We all understand that. But what we implicitly think is that science and technology drives progress and drive prosperity. They do, but only under certain conditions. If I had to say which is the country that had perhaps the best mathematicians, the best physicists, the best chemists, the best metallurgists, unqualified, I think I'd say the Soviet Union. But it didn't help, didn't go anywhere. It didn't go anywhere, didn't produce anything. But if you had taken a Soviet mathematician and squirreled him out of the Soviet Union, and you sent him to Palo Alto, and he spent 2 weeks there, he was producing added value like that. So the need for a market-friendly, a business-friendly, an entrepreneur-friendly environment is absolutely essential. And it by itself will produce science and technology, whereas the other way around doesn't necessarily happen. We in Israel had a lot of science and technology from the start, but it took us a while to get to a business-friendly environment. I tried to contribute my own elements in that, and we made a lot of changes here. I want you to know that in 2003, Greece, if I can say, I'm the foreign minister, I have to be careful when I use names, but I'll use a name. Greece had a per capita income higher than ours. They had $24,000 per capita income, and we were lower. Today, we're $37,000 per capita income. They're about 24. Now we're at 37, and we're catching up to Japan. It won't take us long. We'll pass them, probably. Which you might think is amazing. And I'd say, 37,000? That's it? We who have the largest component of high-tech in any economy in the world, we're about 13% of our people are in high-tech. 13%. Okay, that's very, very big to be directly involved in high-tech. It's a very large number. And we're only $37,000 per capita income? You're listening, Puyo. Yeah, because it's absurd. Because we should be a lot more, and we will be a lot more. Now, there's a great change that's happening in the world. A tremendous change. If you look at the 10 leading companies 10 years ago in market capitalization, 5 were energy companies led by Exxon, #1 in the world, and 1 was IT, Microsoft. Now you flash forward 10 years, that's all. And that picture is completely reversed. 5 are IT companies, and 1 energy company is left, Exxon, which plummeted from #1 to #5. That's a sea change. But that's not merely a sea change, it's a tsunami change. Because the intersection of big data, connectivity, and artificial intelligence, and what it does in robotics and genetics and all the other fields, Uri, that you mentioned, everything, that is changing our world in rapid, rapid succession. And the future belongs to those who can seize this change. We are positioned right at the cusp of this change, right at the center of this change. We can take it, and we are. It's changing us. It's giving us powers and prowess that we never had before. It is a force multiplier. Because to survive and thrive, we have to overcome a simple problem. The problem is, there aren't that many Jews in the world. Our numbers are small. And history favors large nations, not small ones. So we have to compensate for our relative numbers. And we've always compensated with our brains and with our guts. But we're in a position now to compensate beyond anything that we dreamed of. And that depends on one thing. It depends on entrepreneurship. Now you might think I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. It depends on our ability to harness the genius of our people, of the citizens of Israel, and make them produce enterprises. And enterprises that intersect entrepreneurship and technology. This is where the future belongs. We did many, many reforms in this country to make it business friendly, and we are moving up very rapidly, but we have to keep on moving. We have to deregulate, debureaucratize, allow businesses to thrive. And that produces for us, of course, the the tax benefits, the tax revenues that allow us to take care of social welfare, of education, of other things. But without a thriving economy, we have none of that. And entrepreneurship means that we can have the startup nation. What does a startup nation mean if you only talk about science and technology? Talk to me about the Soviet Union. They didn't have entrepreneurship. They didn't have thousands of startups. Israel is doing that, and Israel has to do more of that. And we can. For example, we decided, and sometimes you do have government things that help. Sometimes they can help a lot. For example, I decided about 5 years ago that Israel would be one of the top 5 cyber powers. Now we have government investment that we spend anyway. Every year we invest in 8200 and some other investments that we make in our national intelligence services. They're actually quite big. They're much, much bigger than you think. They're bigger than most of the country's national collection agencies. And in fact, they're almost number 2, maybe even number 2. I haven't checked Russia and China. This is very big. And what we've decided to do was to take, and now don't be offended, Uri, we decided to take 8200 and put the headquarters right into Ben Gurion University, because I want to develop the Negev. And we're taking the national cyber headquarters and we're putting it in the same place. And within 100 yards you have university, security, government security, and a cyber park that is filling out with the biggest companies that are coming to the Negev. We are taking government investment, sunk investment, and connecting it to academia, and most importantly, to entrepreneurship. I went down there. There are startups in Beersheba, and I wanted to show Steve Forbes what we're doing, because we are doing things that are quite amazing. Israel this year is going to have about a quarter of the global cyber investment, non-governmental private investment in cybersecurity in the world. 25%. Now you think about that. There are 8 billion people in the world. We have 8 million citizens, which means we're punching well above our weight, more than 200 times above our weight in cyber. And cyber is a real domain of power. It's a huge domain of power. We're definitely in the top 5 cyber powers in the world. I think it's safe to say we're not number 5, and I'd argue we're not number 4, and then from here on we can start arguing. This would be impossible if we only left it to our security services. It is replenished and reinforced by these hundreds of startups in this field and thousands of startups in related fields. But it's the entrepreneurship that makes it. I go down with Steve Forbes to Beersheba. I show him this new cyber park. And I see these young people. I see a young man. Must be 25. And I said, you look awfully familiar. He said, Prime Minister, you don't recognize me? I said, well, who are you? He said, well, I used to be your 8200, your NSA advisor, briefer on certain technology matters. I said, really? Okay. What are you doing now? And he looks at me like this. He says, now? Now I'm rich. That's good. That's very good. That's exactly right. He makes the country richer. These young men and women who are in these enterprises make our country richer. They make the world richer. We had a meeting in the UN of African leaders who came from about 20 African countries to see an exhibit of Israel's technology in Africa. And they said, look, we create the problems, you create the solutions. You should have seen these young people there, showing them how to make solar energy, how to make water, how to make public health, everything. They're making our lives richer and better and more productive. But they're not doing it as government agents. They're doing it as entrepreneurs. And our future depends on our ability to marry technology with entrepreneurship. This is the most important thing that we can be doing. And therefore, I think that what you're doing today is critical. Israel now is a cyber power, it's a water power, it's a solar power, it's an agricultural power, it's a milk power. Can you imagine? You know which cow produces most milk per cow in the world? You think it's a Dutch cow? It's a French cow? No. It's an American cow? Almost. It's an Israeli cow. It's a computerized cow. Every moo is computerized. This makes Israel very powerful. And here's the main point. Because we have a thriving economy based on entrepreneurship, we can pay for the submarines and the airplanes and the intelligence services that make us very powerful. We can talk about our military prowess, but it's meaningless without the ability to pay for it. And as much as I value, and I do, every penny that comes from our great ally, the United States, and we just signed an important deal, an MOU, that is a very small part of our national expenditure on security. We simply cannot afford our security if we don't have a thriving economy. Because we have a thriving economy, a free economy, and we have to make it freer, we have a strong military. And the combination of having a strong military and strong security services means that many countries want our assistance against the plague of terror, and many countries want our assistance to develop the technologies of the future which they need for their civilian purposes. And as a result, having the military on one side and the civilian technology on the other produces the third element of our national strength, which is alliances. These are the same alliances that we see now developing in Asia, in the countries of Africa, in Latin America. And that's why what UNESCO is doing is a thing of the past, literally, not of the real past, of a false past. And they don't even know it. Entrepreneurship is a central cog in this machine. I think you should be commended for doing it. I don't think it comes as a surprise, Uri, because you started from nothing and did a lot. But I think with the assistance of Sheldon and Miri, you're going to do a great deal, not merely for this institution, but for the future of Israel and the future of the Jewish people. They're linked. I thank you all for what you're doing. Thank you very much. Toda rabah.